Okay, we are live on the 10th or 9th of October, and it is Tuesday. So how are you, buddy?
Going all right, mate. Looking forward to a trading day rather than yesterday, which was a bit of guesswork. Wondering
Yeah,
if there were traders in the market, given that we had a US holiday or bank holiday, and yeah, not one of my favourite days, a Monday bank holiday.
yeah, yeah. It makes things
So I
tricky.
managed, yeah, managed not to take any trades. I don't know if that's a victory or a loss.
Absolutely, no,
But
it absolutely is. I think, it certainly can be. As I was saying, I've got into a trade down here on the FTSE, and I probably could have waited till today, but it was late last night. Sometimes you get a gap in the morning, which is one of the reasons that I took it. And I was actually looking for the FTSE to because there's a level which you'll see. Maybe not actually. Maybe not. Maybe it's okay. But yeah, so I'm just waiting on that one to see if that's going to go better. But there are worldwide problems, aren't there? We got the US 10-year yield seems to be a little bit higher, which is usually negative for stocks and stock markets, and we got those contagion issues in Italy. I haven't really checked. Oh, actually, let me pass you the screen because you're about to check the euro, aren't you?
yes, I am. Actually got an order on the euro that I'm not too fussed on now. But yeah, sure, I'll share that.
Yeah, interesting one. Because euro futures look a little bit higher. FTSE futures down.
You good?
Yep, all good, mate. Yep, got your screen.
Okay. So I was looking to play this candle here short, given it's a new low, and I wanted price to retrace to the daily pivot and then give us a nice little run down to here, maybe retrace for a second time and then smash through this level. I don't like it at all when, especially pre-session, where we get a candle such as this that can almost take us in, and sometimes probably will take you in, and the market opens in the UK and we get a complete reversal. That's the one thing I don't like. The other way to look at that, of course, is my analysis, and my analysis says that this can continue short. I'm going back to a US interest rate announcement, which saw this sort of price action, started a trend short, and although this is just barely a new low, it is a new low, and no better place to bounce short than the daily pivot. This is more a trend trade than anything, but it is something I do like to trade. The bounce, the bullish engulfing bar. Ordinarily, I'd be looking for a lower high, sorry, a higher low here, and I'll probably still be looking for that. I'm actually inclined to take this off. I really am inclined to take this off and look for a better entry. Because, as I say, the entry is just underneath this candle, which is a dangerous place to enter, because you really are at a support level, a natural support level. So I'm actually going to take this off and wait for a little bit of a better opportunity later on. If it goes, it goes. But yeah, as I say, it's something I don't like. I don't like to get taken in on a big bar like that. And the reason is pretty clear. This big bar here led to a big retracement. This big bar here led to a big retracement. This big bar here led to a decent retracement. So that's why I don't like to get in on these big bars. You don't see this too often. When you do, of course, you react to it after the first retracement. But I'm just not comfortable with this position here. And for that reason, I'm just going to take the position off and the order off and wait for a better opportunity. As I said, I'm in two minds now, given that this candle is so substantially bearish, and I'm going to wait to see how that actually closes that candle. What have we got? Got a little bit of time before that happens, of course. I'm not convinced now that my analysis is actually right. And I just want to see another candle close before I make a call on that. There's another couple I'm interested in though. The pound is something I've been interested in for some time, of course. And now we've got what appears to be a retracement on a retracement, given if you call this a retracement on the previous bull move. I rather think that the market's waiting on something at the moment, and given that we've had all the meetings of last week and all those statements that were made, we've had NFP. I'm not too sure what that is, to be fair, but one thing I do see here quite clearly is, well, it's really a spinning top, but it's got that kind of hammer look about it, this candle here. Well, has bounced already off the monthly pivot. Now we've got back above the daily pivot, and we're retesting that. That's the 4-hour chart also, and I'm keeping my eye on this one. If this candle closes as is, that is on the other side of the daily pivot, or the bottom side of the daily pivot, I will look to place an order long here. I think this is very similar to something we had as a potential setup yesterday, but I wouldn't take it because I was trading into the high. So I'm not concerned with that today, and I see this as a potential opportunity to trade long. Also going to narrow that down to the 30-minute chart and see if we can find something there that suits us as well. But that's not really setting up. In fact, the chart here is really ugly. I'm not a fan of this chart at all. I do see that we bounced off the monthly pivot as we saw in the 4-hour chart. But this candle, which has already closed below the daily pivot, is not the same as a 4-hour candle closing below the daily pivot. So what I'll be expecting here is one of two things. I'd be expecting price to follow that strong bar as we come up to the UK session open. If that's not the case, and we get a bullish bar here directly and engulfing the bearish bar, then I'd be looking for a test of the weekly pivot or the monthly pivot. So in other words, price to fall back down here. But it's very unconvincing, this chart. I'm not a fan of it at all. And I'll wait for price to give some indication as to what's going on next.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you on the pound actually, because and I was looking at it yesterday, and the area that we bounced from, you know, it is a swing zone, and I think I could have made a case for a long, but my issue was where, you know, the first point of retracement after the bounce was also a point that it could have actually gone short, and it did come off a little bit. We actually got a little evening star pattern there as well, but it picked up and it started to go again. So I think the pound has started to become more delicate and a little bit more confused. I do see a head and shoulders pattern on that particular chart as well, albeit with a much higher right shoulder and a sloping neckline. So there's every chance that we might be getting a lower high as we peer at this chart right now. The fact that it's under that daily pivot, as you say, the fact that we've closed under it as well, with quite a significant bar, suggests that there's probably some further weakness in this particular pattern. And you see that the low on the 5th of October, around about 5 o'clock, it looks like.
Here-ish?
Yes, that one.
Mm-hmm.
That one.
Yep.
Yeah, if you could bring that up, and then obviously to the next low to the right-hand side. Yeah, that's where I kind of see a neckline for a head and shoulders pattern, and that runs quite nicely into the weekly pivot. So it wouldn't surprise me at all to see price back down there again at some point in the next day or so.
Well, I'm only 20 minutes away from a trade, if that is the case for me. That is, if we do get this bullish bar here, you'll see exactly what I'm looking at. That'll be a double cross sitting on the daily pivot, and that's something that I always like to trade. What I do notice, and it's not unusual, of course, is that this is reacting very technically despite the fact that we've got a terrible chart to look at here on the 30-minute chart, you can see what the monthly pivot has been doing to the cross. It just keeps reacting off it. It's done that again. So, there's a potential trade there, there's a potential trade there, there's a potential trade there, all off the monthly pivot. Weekly pivot's the same. It's giving you, pretty much perfect bounces. Daily pivot as usual. It's very, very similar. So it's really reacting off levels quite well. And this may well be another one of those opportunities. So if we do get a signal here, and that for me, as I say, is a bullish decisive bar, I'll look to trade this one. So we'll see how that one goes.
Yeah. I mean, just on that, the European issue as well. That it's Italian politics really does seem to be playing out, doesn't it, in the charts? It's the euro seems to now be, which is always going to have moments of this, but the euro now seems to be front and center when it comes down to a currency that could be weighed quite heavily. Sentiment could be weighed quite heavily on it, because we've got, the Italian Prime Minister, Deputy Prime Minister has kind of come out against the EU and against Juncker and saying, he's against austerity. He's kind of calling for next year's parliamentary elections to be against a fight against austerity. And there's really some tensions, along the way with Italy and the rest of the EU. I don't know where that comes to a head, but that's weighing on the currency. It's also weighing a bit on the stock market as well. We've seen the Italian stock markets start to come quite significantly lower. Obviously, the Chinese stocks flat today, but they've been on a pretty heavy sell-off as well. IMF has come out today, I think, and downgraded global growth and said it's starting to plateau. They're not anywhere near as confident about global growth. So I think we're probably just starting to head into that next phase. We've been looking for an economic downturn or certainly a technical downturn for quite some time, and it hasn't really emerged for quite some time. But it appears that people are starting to get a little bit more worried. This US and Chinese trade wars seem to be very much front and center and don't seem to be abating anytime soon. So there's a lot out there that gives the global markets quite a few bumps in the road, isn't it? And do you know what I'm surprised about? I don't know if you looked at gold as well recently, because we were talking about gold last week.
Yep.
But gold has come off significantly. The price that we were discussing was that 1202, and if it could get up 1202, then there'd be some significant upside. We did break it. I mean, I don't see the price action breaking the highs there, but the prior white bar on the daily chart did seem to break that trend line that you've got there. But it's been instantly refused, isn't it?
Bang.
I mean, just evidently not ready. The obvious number there looks more like 12.7 to 12.10, doesn't it? That it actually needs to break and hold before we start to see some upside in gold. But it does surprise me a little bit. With the state of the world and how things are with the world economy and the tensions, the trade wars, the Italian issue, and the IMF's now downgrading. All this stuff usually would culminate in some problems and some issues.
In risk off, definitely.
And you'd associate that with some higher prices with gold, but the yen seems to be playing ball. That's one chart that seems to be playing ball, certainly in the last few days, anyway.
Actually, I've got one to have a look at that in a minute with pound yen and probably also Aussie yen. I was having a look at this morning. But if I look at this chart, it's absolutely clear that the market isn't in any hurry to move. In my opinion, it's neither risk on nor risk off. It's one way, one day, the other way the next. It's not very much a market that's ready to show its hand, as far as I can see. It'll break, there's no question. But where and when, is probably just a little bit debatable at this point. If you have a look
Yeah.
at where price actually is, and this is a sure sign of that, when you see all three pivots very close together, and not going anywhere but flatlining, that's telling you a very very vivid story, and the story is with gold in particular that the market ain't going nowhere anytime soon. If I were a gold trading man, I would certainly be looking to trade back to the top here. I'd say that. I might even have a look at that. Yeah, that looks particularly interesting. Daily pivot bounce here and a higher low. That might be interesting. Okay, I'll keep my eye on that. I've never traded gold, as I said before, and for that reason, I'm just a little bit hesitant to.
It's tricky, isn't it? It's tricky with this stuff, isn't it? Because you might have your favoured setup, but it works specifically on the euro and the pound and the Aussie. Does it work on gold? And the answer is difficult to know, isn't it? It looks like it's going to break that the low of that candle, though.
It certainly does. Without going through the process of actually trading it, no, I can't make a statement either way.
No, it certainly looks like a short there, though, doesn't it?
Certainly on that bar it does, but it's they're mongrels of bars to trade. They really are mongrels of bars to trade, because they can be telling you two stories, in my humble opinion, as well.
Yeah.
And if it were, or if its body was probably that size, but down here somewhere in red, you'd have a definite opinion on that. But it's a dangerous one, I reckon.
My issue with that one as well is the daily chart. When you kind of come out of the daily chart, there's a trend line which looks like it's existing, not too far below there. And if you're looking, that one down there.
Yeah,
that doesn't give it a lot of room, does it? Yeah.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Because
and it's starting to look like a triangle, isn't it? As well, when you sort of like look at that as a potential pattern, which means that one way or the other's got a potentially significant move.
I'm talking myself into in a bullish frame of mind here on gold. That's interesting. Okay. I'll get off that and on to something that we can trade.
Yeah.
Back to the pound. I mean, if you look at this chart, you're pretty tough to be thinking short here, really. I would have thought. This bar in particular, following the two bull bars, is hardly something that you'd be confident going short on. I wouldn't have thought. I think the pivot here story and what happens around that daily pivot is probably going to give us an indication as to where we're headed next. Maybe there's a test of the monthly pivot again in this little intraday trend line that I've got here. Maybe that's on. There's a nice confluence area there, but it's got to get back through here. And gee, I tell you what, I'm starting to think there might even be a little trade here later. Yeah, I'm a little bit off the trend line, but I think I said before, if this closes a bear bar below the daily pivot, I will place a long here. Yes, I will. So that's how that's looking for me.
Oh, that's interesting. Is that yeah?
Sorry, go.
Yeah, that was a 4-hour chart, was it?
Yep.
Yeah, so you're looking for by 10 o'clock, so in a couple of hours to have a look at that again and see if that closes below. See if you get that double cross.
Yep.
Cool.
Not a legitimate double cross, because this one hasn't crossed the daily pivot, but it's the next best thing. And the point is, if you ignore the resistance, not that you can, of the trend line, and consider this level to be the better level, I'd be taking profit here.
Yeah.
And I think that's, I can make a case for that level being stronger than the trend line at the moment. So that's what I'll be looking at. I think it'll try and poke its head through that trend line. That's what I'm saying, and maybe take on this high. Given that we've got a cycle that's now going long, I think that's definitely on the cards, and we'll see if that sets up. We might place that order. Going in the opposite direction, I've got pound yen, and I'll come back to the Aussie in a minute. But pound yen, obvious range. We're at the bottom of that range, almost. Depends on where you put the bottom of the range to be. I'm thinking that's probably the bottom of the range, around about there, or it could even be up here, with a little bit of a false break on both counts here. So if that's the case, we're through this one, and we're not yet down to this one. And what I believe may be on here is this may be a reversal that we're seeing. If it is, I'll be in this pretty much early days, but I'd want to trade that bar there, and I want to trade it short, but I'll be taking profit before this level.
Okay.
So if this is a reversal,
yeah,
there's a whole lot of space down here for profit. Of course, got a lot of work.
Yeah, there is.
It's got to get through this support. It's got to get through the monthly pivot. But if I'm free trading at that point, I haven't got anything to lose, and that would be the basis of this trade.
Would your so the first purple low there would be the first TP area?
Yes.
Where the is that support? Yeah.
Yeah, it's daily support 1.
Interesting. Okay, and that's a 4-hour. Interesting.
Yeah, it's just a method of picking up the potential reversal. I'm not actually expecting it to reverse here, but if it does, and I can get safe in the market before it hits the lows or the bottom of the range as I see it, then I think that's a risk worth taking. Because there's a big reward down here if you actually get through it. Not an easy task, I've got to say, but sometimes when you measure up the reward versus what I don't consider to be a great risk here, because I think there is profit, or there is a strong chance that price, if it does break this level, will go to this level. In fact, I'd be stunned if it didn't, but something gets done. I think this bar here is a good backup for these 3 black crows that I've been hanging on, and this little retracement back. Maybe the daily pivot is the thing that needs to be tested first, and then we might shoot through. But look, I think that's a risk worth taking down here, and I have got that order in place. If anybody wanted to follow that, the entry is a couple of pips below that level. I think I've got it as 147. Hang on, I'll check that. $147.49 is where I'm entering, and I've got a stop loss of 78 pips. So that's 78.
So you're looking for a short there. Are you looking for short? Was it a short per pound as well, pound dollar?
No,
it was a long, wasn't it? Yeah.
So the risk of 78 pips, can turn into 400, almost 500. I reckon, if it does reverse here. So that's why I'm taking that.
Which it certainly could do with things going on. I'll quickly show you what I see with the pound, pound dollar. This is where I kind of started with pound dollar with this pattern that's going on right now, and it appears to me that we do have a line up here now. It's difficult to know exactly where that line is, but it might be as tight as that. There's definitely an area here as well, but there might be one as tight as that. But I'll tell you what really interests me is this particular bar here. I'm not too sure about that one actually, but this particular bar here, which that hanging man is. I really like these bars. because they almost suggest that an explosive a move to the upside would be taken up. But I like these bars where we're in midair here, because there's obviously two areas that trade this, the low of this and the body. Now the body's obviously going to be a lot more lucrative if you can catch it, because you get the whole area to come to down here. But I kind of like this, and what I'm seeing with the pound actually today is I'd be much more interested in the short area than the long. I think that there is a potential shelf along here that if that does break down as well, it may, as I say, cause that lower high. And I also quite like, as I said before, the fact that this could be, a head and shoulders pattern kind of forming, but which maybe pushes it a little bit higher. Looking at that, if we're going to get kind of the neckline and the two shoulders on a similar kind of trajectory, then it would suggest that there's a little bit higher. But I actually see lower. I see this coming off a little bit and struggling a little today.
Cool. No problem with that. I've got a little trend line down there in confluence with the weekly pivot as well. So I think that's a good pen for me if it does do that. As I said, the chart on the 30-minute is very, very tough to read. So I'm probably going to stick with 4 rounds at the moment. And
yeah, I see what you mean. I'm looking back at your chart there, and I can see your 4 hour. It's a sticky one actually, isn't it? Because we do have those bars that have appeared on the daily, and some of these movements on the 4 hour as well. It is quite a tricky one to read, I think, the pound, because you have to kind of consider sentiment as well, and world events and everything that's going on with Brexit and I believe we are a week and a day away from that European meeting. I mean, it's getting so close, isn't it? They must be sweating buckets now about getting that deal done. There's even talk that Shinzo Abe incidentally said yesterday that he's happy for the UK to kind of come into the trade deal that Japan have got with is it TTIP or NAF? I think it's TTIP. The United States have left, but we'd be happy for the UK to kind of step into that particular trading bloc. But yeah, it really is. But that won't help the pound until we get this whole thing about the EU being cleared up, because nobody's really interested in potential trade deals. It's not really something that we can focus on until, as I say, that issue and how it's going to happen is complete.
But they do say by the rumour, do they not?
They do say by the rumour. I think the question is when, and that's the thing about. With that, yeah, I agree. Yeah, there would be an element of by the rumour, but the problem is the EU issue is front and centre, and until they get over that particular hurdle, they can't concentrate on anything that could actually be, perceived as good news. So that rumour probably, or potentially could be bought at some point, but I doubt it's going to be. I doubt it's going to be just yet.
I guess time will tell, mate. It's pretty much far from us to be saying, okay, here's the way it's going to fall, because really it is guesswork. In my opinion, it's guesswork anyway. If the market in general can't work it out, then far be it from me to step in and say, well, here's the right way to go.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Did you trade the open, mate, or were you okay?
Well, we're okay. I mean, I've got a trade on, as I say, in the FTSE, and it's down at these lows. I've got it at 72.40. Where is it? The market will probably come off a little bit and then bounce back up again. So I'll be looking for. This is the area. This is the tricky area. If anybody's interested in taking the trade, the price is pretty much the same as I've got. So if you're interested in going long. I've taken my trade here, and it's gone in light. There's no reason to go in heavy down here. I've gone in really light. I'm looking for some moves back to the upside. I see that daily pivot is in a really tricky area now, actually. I'm looking for this area to be tested again, but I see that that daily pivot is in a terrible area, and it probably is going to be the case that the daily pivot is going to hold things up somewhere around about this 72.67. So if you are going to get into this trade, that's probably going to be near enough your target. Not sure if you're going to get too much more out of that. It could break down. This market may well break down, but the reason I don't think it will at this point is because we have got some significant price levels, just where we are. That's a significant price level. So I am looking for a bounce here. And that's the weekly. There's the monthly. I think it's easier to see on the weekly. The daily just gives us a slightly different and more bleak picture in a lot of ways, because this is kind of the line right now on the daily, which was broken down. So I am looking for that particular line to be attacked one more time, and maybe some sort of target of 73.20 ish would be as far as this would go. To say that daily pivot's likely to cause some issues, but you can see how significant these lows could be here. This is it's a decent area to try and pick something up, but whether that can actually get some juice at this point is the big question, because the market has been significantly selling off. We've just seen the Chinese market just come back a little bit. So that was one of the issues yesterday, is that the barometers weren't looking too hot. So now we look at this. I'd like to see whether the FTSE. I mean, it's gapped down this morning so far. I'd like to see whether the FTSE can actually just at least hold a price point.
Okay, I haven't had a look at the Aussie yet, so we best do that.
Yeah, let's do that. Yeah, sounds good.
Sorry, you've not finished.
No, I am finished, mate. No, I was doing some points in the background, so you go ahead.
Okay, happy days. All right, Aussie. Looks very much like a base of some kind here. I'm on the 4-hour chart, and we have had a bit of a rally off that. I'm not sure what level we've come to. Well, I guess I am sure that's the level there that we've come to, and it is a significant level, because it really is the last substantial rally that we had off this Aussie. I would expect that to therefore act as resistance, and currently it is. Whether that's sustainable or not is another question, of course. The big picture, or the bigger picture on the Aussie, remains unchanged, because we've been in this descending channel since the year began. 2018 has been all about the woes, if you like, depends on the way you look at it, of course, of the Aussie dollar versus the US dollar and most other currencies. So, am I thinking trade here? Well, I am. Like you, Ash, I'm probably looking to pick up a rally here, and that rally, if this follows suit, if you like, is probably almost certainly going back to the top of this channel. One would think. We've got a big bullish engulfing bar here on the daily yesterday, so that may well be a sign of things to come. Too early for me to trade that bar, of course. So let's take a look at the smaller time frames and see if there's any way to get into this. So there's the double bottom, which is where the turnaround on the daily has started, if you like, and that's the end of the bearish engulfing, the bullish engulfing bar. Testing the daily pivot today with this bear bar, and I'm kind of liking this scenario, but I do need to have a significant higher low in place before I can trade this, and I would prefer that higher low comes off a retracement or a sell rather than a buy. So I'm not looking for a low here, looking for a low down here somewhere. after we get that first retracement on the first move, if you like. So bull move, bear retracement. That's what I'm looking for. If I get that higher low in this area, then I'll be interested to trade. So that's not happening yet on the 4-hour chart, but it may yet happen on the smaller time frames. And if I have a look at the 30-minute chart, for instance, it will show me, again, there's the double bottom, and we do have already a partial, I'll call it a partial, higher low, which has come off this little retracement. I'd actually like to see a better one, and this may be it. You can see we've already rejected the daily pivot early in the session, or early today. This is the one I was looking for, something that's a reasonable retracement and finding a support level, a recent support level and a significant support level. This may well be it. Don't like the candle that precedes it, I've got to say, but I will be looking at this at the bottom of the hour to see exactly how it looks. Maybe I'll have to hang around and get exactly what I need on the hourly chart. Let me see how that's going to look. Yeah, that's not going to happen. Well, all things possible. We could get what I'm looking for here. So I like that bar preceding this one far better than I like the one on the 30-minute chart. So I will be looking for this candle to be, I would say, pretty much as it is. I'd like it a bit bigger, I must say. I'd like it to get some part of this candle this side of the daily pivot and taking out that low, which is the low of the day. So I'd really like a close around here somewhere. That would suit me. Or a test here somewhere, and we can pull back off it if it likes. I'd actually like it to have a bit of a tail on it. That would be good. So I'd like price to get down here and then retrace back to this area somewhere. I think that would be a reasonable time to go long here on the Aussie. As you say, Ash, I'd only be doing this in a light fashion, waiting for perhaps the second attempt, or the third attempt, if you like, at the daily pivot. But I would go in here. So I'll have a look at this candle when it closes at the top of the hour, just before we go offline. And if that looks good, I'll trade that. I'll still have a look at the 30-minute chart, and maybe we can just sneak a small one in there as well. We will make that decision upcoming. But I'm thinking, because of all those descriptors I've just laid on you, most importantly this bullish engulfing bar, that we do have a little bit more upside here with the Aussie today. And the target area, medium term, is probably up around the 72 mark. So that's where I'm looking for the Aussie. What else did I have? I had a look at pound yen, didn't I? Or did I? Pound yen, yes, I did. I was speaking about this, and we do have an order in place on pound yen. If you've missed that one and want to follow it, the entry's at 147.
You haven't got. You're not. That's not in, is it? That's just where the. It's just the order.
Oh, yeah, it's not in the market. It's just
yeah.
It's at 147.49, and the stop loss is 78 pips, and the TP1 is. Where have I got that? I think it's only 15 pips from memory. Yeah, it is 15 pips. You first take off, get safe in the market at that point. The only other one I didn't look at is Aussie yen. And Aussie
cool, that looks like a break. Cool, that looks good. What's that? That's an hourly, is it?
That is an hourly chart.
Oh, I like the look of that, mate.
There's probably already an entry there.
Yeah.
And we've missed that one. I don't like to trade the first candle London session, so that's why I'm more still into analysis than I am trading. So I'm happy to wait on that.
The first hourly candle, you mean?
No, the first 30-minute candle.
30-minute candle, yeah. I know what you're saying on that. Lovely inverted head and shoulders down there, isn't it?
Yeah, it's good, and it is a higher low. So it's exactly what I look for.
Oh, let me see that.
but it is a rule of mine that I don't trade the first candle of London session, and the reason for that is that I've been burnt many times.
Yeah, do
And
you know what? I can appreciate that, but I wonder if you're going to get a chance to wait on that. That looks great.
yeah, look, I operate under the belief that there's always a second chance. You know,
Yeah.
might not be the same price, but it might bounce off resistance and come back here and give me a chance. You know, 5 or 10 pips above, who cares? It's not a big deal.
Do you know, I
So
think the problem with that one is the downtrend on the 4 hour, isn't it? But what's interesting, so you've got did you drew that channel in, didn't you?
on the
On the
Aussie
4 hour.
yen,
Yeah.
I don't know, did I? No, you're talking about this one here.
Yeah, I mean, is there? You
It's the
see,
Aussie dollar.
I've got it. I've got it the Aussie yen, the start of the 4 hour, at the very start of that trend on the 3rd.
Here.
Yeah, so let me see your one. The 3rd of October. Yeah, yes, all the way up there.
Let me switch. Far easier to get this on the right side. So you're down here somewhere?
Yeah, and then tuck that one, the top one, into the top bar of that one there. That's what I've got.
So we're already at that resistance level, yeah?
It looks like it, doesn't it? I mean, that's a really interesting point there.
It is. I agree with that. Yeah. No argument.
Whether we're through or not, I don't know. It's what are those daily bars? It looks like a bounce area too. In fact, there's even a potentially an inverted head and shoulders on the daily, which we might be at the lower end of that right shoulder as well.
Yeah, it still looks good. The interesting part here, if that was a trend line, let's see if I can make that an accurate line in terms of trend. Probably can't. No, I can't turn the little trend line. No. I'm trying to make things that don't exist here. When I'm doing that, I hate it because you're trying to make a story where none exists. But yeah, I see your channel. Your channel's perfectly legit as far as I can tell.
It just depends on whether we're through, doesn't it?
I think the smaller time frames, yeah, it makes a big difference, doesn't it? Big difference. So my trend line, which comes through here, you'll love that. But you're straight at the resistance area, aren't you? Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's why we wait, mate. I suppose that's why I'm happy to wait and see how that pans out.
Yeah, you see, I think the other thing that I find it's Aussie yen, wasn't it? The other thing that's quite interesting with this one, where is it? Yeah, that does make it tricky. It looks like the timing might be a little off. I'm just gonna bring this up on my charts here, but when I look at this, I do see this this is a potential hold area. Definitely see that inverted head and shoulders on the hourly. which looks like left, head, and right. So that looks pretty good to me. Nice bar there. I think anybody that's got into this will be a little bit concerned that it wasn't able to hold above the high of that candle. And I was looking at this 15-minute chart here, and that's what the 15-minute chart is. That's why the 15-minute chart is suggesting that maybe the timing is not quite right. And this is the issue, isn't it? When you are looking in the opposite direction, because ultimately, obviously, this is going to be a counter trend trade from the major move in this. But I kind of like it. I kind of like it if that could hold on. Maybe we're waiting another 15 minutes, and if that can pop forward, then I think there's every chance that we're starting to see some pretty decent areas of support here.
As I look at the hourly chart, all I can see is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of the last 8 bars were indecisive at the same level. Doesn't fill me with a lot of confidence, I would say.
Yeah.
I still see it, but yeah, I'm not willing to trade it, that's for sure, at this point.
I suppose the other thing is what's going to be. Let's have a quick look at some news as well. I'm not allowed to use this news. So, news is light today. Yeah, it does. I mean, it's things about Australia. We got a little bit of news there, but things about the Aussie dollar is that it's going to be also a little bit kind of tied and married to what's going on in China, isn't it? And obviously the Chinese stocks aren't doing too well today, so I wonder whether that could.
It doesn't have any bad news, the Aussie, that's for sure.
No, well, I said they're not doing too well today. Actually, they're doing okay today, but the overall picture isn't so good. So I suppose we're probably waiting for that to turn before we can have a bit of confidence in the Aussie.
It's very difficult to have confidence in it, that's for sure.
Yeah.
In terms of short-term rallies, I'm not afraid to trade a short-term rally, that's for sure.
But, yeah, I guess on the technical,
looks a bit of a stretch.
Right, let me just have a quick look at the market breadth as we get past the first 15 minutes of the day. The market is very, very weak. We're looking at only 25% of stocks actually in bullish territory right now. So it's the FTSE 100 is looking very, very tenuous, very, very tenuous. To the point that we might even be headed for the next significant low. Let me just check this out. Yeah, is it 72.19 when we look on this daily bars, the daily chart here, which we did see yesterday. So around about this 72.22 area. That's what it's certainly starting to show right now. I think for this to pick up, maybe we do actually need something that's going to drive it. There is GDP data. Actually, the data is heavier on Wednesday, and I wonder whether we are waiting for Wednesday before we start to enjoy anything with the UK market. I see that the pound is still coming off, but we got GDP Wednesday, manufacturing production month on month. That's likely to move the market. This 10-year bond auction is going to be quite interesting in the US, and you kind of need to compare the 10-year to the 2-year to see if because there seems to be a bit of a steepening now of yields between these two. Now the yield is the first number, so anybody's looking into this further, the yield is the first number you see here. It's 2.96, and that's that is suggesting that they are, investors are kind of looking into the future for those bonds to kind of return some decent numbers.
How long since it's been there? A long time, I would think.
Yeah, they don't show a graph, unfortunately. Or do they? No, they don't. They don't have. That's the one thing they don't have a graph for. So, we obviously we could search for it online, and I'm sure it wouldn't be a problem getting a graph. But they don't have a graph for the 10-year, and you almost want to see the 10-year versus the 2-year, just so you can get an idea of the steepening yields. And that's because that's what's happening. The yields far out, way out in front, are kind of are weighing on that. So it looks to me that that may well cause some sort of bearish movement in the market. Let's have a quick look at gold as well. That was one of the other ones that we were talking about, and see how that's getting on. So it has come off a little bit. It's eased off, isn't it, from the area that you were looking at initially?
Last week, yeah.
Oh, a little bit.
What do you mean today?
Yeah, just from today. Not as much as I thought, actually. But it's starting to break down those lows, isn't it?
It's yeah. I don't know how to trade this. I've got no
idea. Yeah.
I'm trying to apply it to my own strategy, and I'd be screaming for a low around about 1187.5.
1187. 1187.
If I could find a low there, that would be good to trade off.
Yeah, I can see why. Are you looking at these areas here?
Yeah.
Yep, I see that too. And if you couple that with the fact that we do have that daily trend line sticking right through there, which may be a little bit lower. Yeah, so that might not work out for that particular area, but yeah, I can see that.
Case for it, okay.
Oh, easily, and it's one of those that, and this is the thing about these levels, isn't it? If we are looking for intraday bounces, then actually finding intraday levels, they're obviously going to be greater levels, and more likely levels that you start to see the selling coming back in again. Obviously, if you're swing trading, then the levels that you're looking for are a lot deeper and a lot they're fewer and far between. But this would be an intraday bounce, and the thing is about the intraday bounces is that oftentimes, or it can happen, that an intraday bounce can turn into something more significant. So
yeah, I don't plan for that because I am strictly intraday. Well, sorry, that's not quite true. I do like a bit of swing trading as well, but when I'm trading a 30-minute chart, all I'm looking for is the next level.
Yeah,
and nothing more than that. That's all that counts, because that's where, to me, the sweet prices are in between those bounce points on an intraday basis. That's all I'm looking.
Yeah.
So it really doesn't concern me, if we go 300 pips, happy days. But I'm only looking for 30 probably.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely, and then just leave a little bit on the table to see what happens.
Well, if I can find the entry, with a bit of time correlation, if it happens on a 4 hour at the same time, then I can let that one take over. It becomes the longer term trade.
Yeah.
Or even on a daily chart, who cares? I don't care how it comes. They're the relaxing ones, I suppose, where you just set and forget. But on a 30-minute chart, really, I'm in and out. By most times 35 pips is gone. That's pretty much where I'm at. So
and I suppose
and generally what will happen is it'll hit resistance and pull back for you, and it'll give you an opportunity on a bigger time frame to get in anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the nature of the intraday charts because they bounce off support and resistance. That's what they do.
Yeah, well, you're absolutely right. Yeah, they bounce off those small levels, don't they? Those small
Mm.
areas. And it's always the question with intraday charts, and this is why actually intraday trading, can encounter so many more challenges because it is so much more price dependent, price reactive. Setups can be very, very tricky at times, and sometimes you just don't want a setup. You don't want to take a setup. You don't want to take a price. Because that's where you're going to get the bounce, and that's where you're going to get those little bites out of the market. But again, because it's an intraday level, it can go beyond the price that you think it's going to go for, and then come all the way back to it and close at that area. So yeah, there are other challenges, aren't there, with intraday trading?
Oh, look, that's why it's so much fun, isn't it? Really,
Yeah, well, absolutely,
you
absolutely.
don't get it your own way all the time.
No, I mean I really like it because I think I quite like being active. I like the activity of
Yeah, you like to have a piece of you in the market at some stage, rather than
absolutely, yeah, yeah. I want some
and look.
skin in the game.
That's right, and look, that doesn't detract in any way, shape, or form from any other way to trade. That's quite simply, a silly thing to say. It's horses for courses, or whatever floats your boat.
Yeah,
And this floats my boat more than walking away and coming back at night time and seeing what the trade's done.
yeah, yeah,
Not that I
absolutely.
don't do that. If the position's there, then I'll take it. But when really when it comes down to it, it's these couple of hours that we're in now that really that's where I like to spend my time as a trader.
Just a quick update, actually. Market breadth has changed significantly now to it's still bearish, but considering when we opened up, we were looking at only 25% of stocks were in positive territory. We're now at 38% of stocks in positive territory. So the FTSE 100 continues to ease to the downside. But at this stage, it's not that concerning because of the way that market breadth is looking. Now, obviously, if it starts to break down these lows, it's already kind of taken or taking a swipe at this particular line here, and on a very short-term time frame, that doesn't look too positive. When we look at the 5-minute chart, it looks like that particular line does may well have given way and may well give way to some further downside. But but I don't think this is too concerning right now, and I think we're really looking for a pickup in the price action. As I say, it may be that we need to see this 72.20-ish level before we see a genuine pickup point. When you kind of consider where any of these market makers might want to pick it up. This is an obvious area, and it's an obvious area that if it breaks down, there could be some significant downside, and there could be some significant selling if that area was to break down. Because well, in actual fact, that trend line will hold it up. So we'd want to see that point there. But then if that was to break down, then I think we've got some real issues. We could be coming down 300 pips. Now, I'm not saying that this won't happen at some point, because my belief is that the market is coming off. But I think that there's probably, I think it's likely that we have a bounce before, and that's what I'm kind of holding out for here. I'm just looking for some holding going on, price action to change a little bit. The daily pivot is going to hold things up and make things kind of tricky. But I'll be looking for a little bit higher. I mean, 3 black crows don't really sell a great picture for the FTSE 100, but we've had literally no retracement since the 3 black crows started. So I am looking for us to be a little bit higher by the end of the week. Half-hour bars, mate. Do you want to have a look?
Yeah, mate. I've just been having a little squeeze to see if we've got an entry here, and the only one really that's likely, I think, is that Aussie. But I think I'm going to wait for it on the hourly chart, despite the fact that we've got a nice double rejection of the daily pivot here. Just looking at that bar actually. No, I'm going to wait for it on the hourly.
That's the Aussie dollar, is it?
Yeah, because ideally I want it to break this low and then pull back off it. That's a better sign for me, a better signal for me that the long is in play. So I'm going to wait for it. I'm just not getting exactly what I want on the 30-minute chart, so I'll hang on to that one. Let me take a look at the euro. Yeah, no thanks, not for me. They're terrible bars to trade, and we're not in a position to go short here into that support level. So no, thank you very much. Cable. Yeah, look, a couple of out of context tweezer tops sitting there. If they were sitting up here, then I might get interested, but not where they are. It's the only time I'll look to trade two indecisive bars back to back is when they're in perfect context, and these are not. So I won't be trading that anytime soon. The hourly, when we get there, is the one I'm really waiting for. And if that is to be a bullish decisive bar, as I said before, we'll look to trade that short down to this area. I think that'd be probably a decent trade to take. And
Yeah, so if that was to close under that pivot, would you be interested in entry at the low, would you?
No, I actually want it to close above the pivot and yes,
Okay.
enter at the low.
Okay. I'm glad I got it.
You got it right, the double cross.
Oh, that's going to be the double cross. Yeah, close below, close above, boom. Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah, that's the go. Aussie no, Euro no, pound not yet. That's an interesting bar on pound yen. Didn't quite make it to the daily pivot. This might provide me with something a little bit down the track. Yeah, I like that. I do like that. I'd like price to pull away from this area, and then come back and have another crack at this trend line, if you like. Or I call them trade lines. And it looks like I'm not going to get that opportunity anytime soon. So I need this candle to get out of here straight away, come down to here, and then have another crack up here. That's when I'll get interested in trading that long. If I do get interested in trading long, that is. On the bigger time frame, of course, I've got an entry underneath these lows, but I definitely see a potential for this to continue the retracement back to here, back to the 148.57 level, I think, as I've got it here, which of course is the current weekly pivot. So I'd like to have that opportunity, and the only way I can do that now is if price pulls back away and then has another crack here, or there's another way to trade it, of course, and it's probably the preferred way to trade this actually, is it comes down to here, breaks this line here, hits this low and support area, then gets back above that line and retests it. That's when I'll get interested. So I'm looking for a pullback here, not looking for this to go long just yet. And Aussie yen. So have a look at that. I said it's really tough to be thinking long. Yeah, I just haven't got enough room here. Frustrating. Very frustrating. I'm looking to take profit here, but I haven't got enough room. By the time the spreads chew me up, I've only got 1 or 2 pips to play with.
I really like that Aussie yen. Jeez.
I like this for an acceleration through the top of this candle, but whether it can get through this level is the question.
That's the question, isn't it? If you take that blue line, the channel there, and just pop it up a little bit so it touches the previous half-hour high.
Hang on, I'll have to go wider to do that because it's.
No. Do you have to go wider? Only the end of it. Yeah. Literally just the end of it.
Yeah, I can only do it from here though.
Oh, okay.
So there or there?
Yeah, there, yeah, right at the high of it. Yeah. Can we zoom back in again?
Sure can.
So what the? Yeah, that doesn't really help, actually, does it? I was hoping that that bar that you're looking to potentially take profit, those highs would also be on the trend line, which I think would have helped. But well, it doesn't really, does it? I tell you what, though, if that was to break that high, I think it's got some open
Mm.
water, isn't it?
It's off. I agree. I'm very tempted to take that, but I've got to stick with what I know, and what I know is I have to take profit before this level.
Hmm.
I can't trade through that. It's the
There's no
high of the
room.
day.
What does, when you go down to the 15, I know this is not necessarily territory that you reside in very often, but well, that's the 15, isn't it?
Getting there.
You see, with a 15, that high, yeah,
What's it
that
saying
high. If you're going from that high,
from here?
no, the previous high, and
This
drawing a
high.
trend line, yeah, and then drawing a trend line down, has that price area now been broken?
Down here. Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
Down there.
yeah, looks good, doesn't it?
Yeah, I like it, but I can't find a way in.
I know what you mean. It's one of those that you kind of you're gonna be vaguely right, you know. And I suppose because you're intraday trading for a very small amount of pips, being vaguely right is not going to be adequate.
No, I've got my set rules, and my set rules are that I can't trade into the high of the day without taking my profit.
Hmm.
And my profit starts around about the 5-6 pip mark,
Hmm.
and I just don't have room for that there.
Tricky there, isn't it? I mean, I've got it's also trying to find brokers that don't have wide spreads. What's the spread with these guys we use
Aussie
here on
yen,
Aussie
probably
yen?
only around about 1.6 or something like that, I think.
I'll make it 2.
Is it 2? Aussie yen.
Yeah,
Aussie yen.
yeah, yeah. It's interesting, isn't it? There
Two
are
and a bit,
better.
actually.
2 and a bit, 2 and a bit.
No,
So
it's not. Well, it's changing all the time, of course, but at the moment it's
yeah,
1.8.
yeah. Yeah, that's the issue, isn't it? That's the issue with brokers, isn't it? Trying to get a broker that's going to give you a decent spread, tight spreads, and that's where kind of intraday traders also suffer because of how loose some of these spreads are. I mean, this
Yeah, look,
FTSE's,
that a massive disadvantage trading my strategy.
yeah,
If you're outside of 1.5 pips, it's really tough to make money.
yeah, yeah. Well, the FTSE on the broker that we use here is almost 2 pips. Um, and I can tell you that is very, very wide, very, very wide. For comparatively speaking,
Yeah.
I think most of them that I find are closer to zero point 0.9, a ninth of a pip. So when you got or the ones that I like, the other ones that I like, I'm not going to mention the brokers. I'm not going to do it down on air, but the other brokers that I actually do use on other accounts are sometimes as low as 0.7 of a pip, and this is 2. So we're almost looking at the amount of spread on this one, which is a lot. That's a huge amount when you're trying to get those extra little bits and pieces of money. Those extra pips make a huge difference, especially when at times you might be putting on $20 a pip. So
Yep.
to lose 40 before you've even started is quite heavy, really.
Oh, it is, and it makes a massive difference to me. Massive
Mm,
difference in my
mm,
trading. So
mm.
that's pretty much why you'll only ever see me talking around majors and maybe minors to a certain degree.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
won't see me talking around the USDZAR, for instance, the South African rand,
yeah,
because the spread on that is 55 pips. I don't think we'll be going there anytime soon.
yeah, yeah. And the peso as well. I remember when we were out in Bali, Julian's trading the
Yeah,
peso, and I was like, "What the? Jeez, what are we
trades it off.
talking here?"
I don't know how that's even possible
Well,
intraday, but
I was looking at his trading from my perspective, and I suppose that's the thing, isn't it? If you can't look at that stuff from your own perspective, because when you
no,
do, then you kind of you do look at the pips and go, "Am I going to make money out of that?" But when you
yeah,
look on
completely different strategy. Yeah,
yeah, I mean he's looking at much more long-term swing trading than the short-term stuff. This short-term hocus pocus that you and I get into.
they're just gluttons for punishment, mate. That's what we are.
I think we might be.
You, you think the older I get, the more sensible I get, and I trade 4 hour charts and daily charts. But I just I like the way it feels. It's a far better feel for me.
Yeah, I agree. Do you know what? I think I mean I'd like to get into swing trading. To be fair, actually the spreads on the Mexican peso are pretty tight on the broker here. Yeah, I'd like to get more into some swing trading. I think it would free up some headspace. That's the one thing about it that I do appreciate. It would actually free up some headspace. Um, and the way that life can get it would be quite useful, and it would be for you actually as well, probably, wouldn't it? With things taking off with your other business.
Yeah. Look, it's amazing. I make now what about 3 hours a day to dedicate to trading. And if I see a setup in the morning, because I do the morning TTR as well,
Yeah,
then I'll take that. And the weird thing, I might come back in a week or so, and that trade's either done its thing or it's not been triggered. Like, oh, holy crap! I forgot that was in the market.
yeah,
I just lose it completely.
yeah,
Whereas doing this, of course, you're always on top of what you're doing. So I find that a bit of a trap. If I don't monitor every day what I've actually done the day before,
yeah,
which is very easy to do in the morning because I'm only spending, I suppose, 15 minutes in front of the charts at that time, and it's either there or it isn't. And as I say, I come back in a week or so. Oh my goodness, forgot about that. And it's either good or bad.
yeah, yeah.
So I guess that's the nature of it. So.
Yeah, well, it is a different animal, and it takes a little while actually to get your head round the different styles. Because it's interesting, isn't it? Because like fractal theory suggests that it doesn't matter what time frame you're on, they kind of all behave the same, but it's not really true, and it's impossible for it to be. I mean, to a degree, I suppose it's true that they will all hit specific points of support and resistance that are obvious, but with intraday trading, I think there are nuances. News more than anything else. The headlines, I should say, rather than anything else.
Mm. Oh, look, it can throw it around, dramatically. Look at bars like that. If you're trading short here, you think, oh, happy days for 5 seconds, and then 10 seconds later, whoops, stop.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
That's really tough on a trader when that. But I suggest that's probably a news event anyway. Oh, that's Friday. That would have been NFP. But if you're not aware around those things, and that can happen any time of day anyway. If some politician speaks up, or some central banker speaks up unannounced, and the market just goes batshit for about 5 minutes, and what the hell was that?
yeah,
And that makes it very interesting, but very difficult at the same time.
yeah,
You
yeah,
don't know what's caused it instantly. You don't know really how to react to it until you've got a little bit more information, and that can be either price information or indeed fundamental information.
Yeah.
So it can be a little tricky. There's no two ways about that. Mate, I've got a
Yeah.
quote somewhere.
Oh, forgot the quote. Yeah, we should be getting onto that, shouldn't we? We're running towards the end of the day here.
We're up to well, we're going to H today, and H because it's Larry Height, and Larry reckons that throughout his financial career, he continually witnessed examples of other people that he has known being ruined by a failure to respect risk. If you don't take a hard look at risk, it will take you. Couldn't agree more, you know.
Oh yeah, I really like that.
When you are considering risk, it needs to be considered well before you enter a trade.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what he's saying here. You know, if you ignore it, by gee, it can eat you up big time.
Yeah. Yeah.
For one of the reasons we've just said, in particular on intraday trading, you can get smashed hard.
Yeah.
And where you think you've got your stop, maybe 20 pips out, because if the market moves dramatically in against you, your stops may not be respected. And
No, and it's an interesting one, that, isn't it? Because actually risk can also work in the other direction, where you have things that are too tight. You don't you think your risk is going to be better at 10 pips, when actually your risk might be better at 20 pips, with that actually less in the market, less money or per pip in the market. So risk is a really interesting subject matter, and money management and risk is they are really interesting subject matters, and I think you could practically run whole courses on those things
it's a
alone.
subject of its own, isn't it? It really is a subject of its own.
Yeah, yeah,
And like most things in life, I've learned how to manage risk, not the easy way by actually getting tutored on it, but by the
yeah,
hard way.
yeah,
And smashing out at times, and having losses that I hadn't considered
yeah,
having, and it's very painful when that happens.
yeah,
I remember very early in my career, my tutor, or my mentor, if you like, was managing his risk, and I was not. I don't know why he wasn't telling me that. I sort of blew up
yeah,
at that stage because, and it was with stop losses. He was swing trading, and he'd have his stop loss, like traditional 5 or 10 pips below the swing or whatever it was, and I was tight on the bottom of the candles. Right?
yeah,
So I kept getting stopped out, and he'd win all these trades would win, of course, and
yeah,
here's me going, oh, but I just lost $1,000, and I'm going to blow up and all the rest of it. And that's actually what taught me,
yeah,
because he sat me down and said, look, I won't say it,
yeah,
here's what you should be doing. And I said, oh, thanks for telling me, but I was, almost in a state of complete rage,
yeah,
because he was winning and I was losing, and
yeah,
substantially. So that little lesson in life was very, very timely. Otherwise, I would have gone broke quickly.
yeah,
But very, very important that I actually learned that lesson. So
yeah.
risk is something that absolutely needs to be respected. If you want to know who Larry Height is, by the
Yes, I
way,
do.
he's another of these people that I'd not heard, but where is he? Here he is. But also well credentialed. Hedge fund manager. Look, I don't take too much into that, because I know a lot of hedge fund managers who aren't particularly smart people, but his career is amazing. He co-founded Mint Investments, as it says there, and he's in, like our good friend from the other day, Marcus. What was his name? I can't even remember his name now. He's in Market Wizards as one of the top traders of all time. And if you go into Wiki and have a look at this. I won't go through it all now because we are running a little bit short of time. He's a philanthropist because of his good fortune or good management, as the case may be. Lots of things that he's achieved. So I suggest you have a look at him. He's
Yeah.
certainly in the realm of a famous trader,
Great.
and I'd be prepared to listen to what he's got to say. And I'm trying to keep that in light. There's no point putting up quotes, in my opinion, from people who are inverted commas nobodies.
Yeah.
These people have actually got the runs on the board, and I think if you're not prepared to listen to somebody who has got the runs on the board like these guys do, then probably you should be looking somewhere else, because really they've done it all. And what actually comes out of their mouths, if you wrote it all down in a book like I am, you'd probably have a book that is a blueprint to a successful trading career, I should imagine.
Yeah.
So,
I like it a lot, mate. I like it a lot. I'm liking these quotes.
yeah, look, as I say, I'm trying to find people who have got the runs on the board, and what they are saying is very much a lot of what I've learned over the years, and I have to agree with it. Just because I agree with it doesn't mean it's right, of course. But these guys know what they're talking about.
Yeah, and it's interesting, isn't it? Because when it comes down to the skill of trading, it's not that tricky to learn how to trade. It's the other aspects that kind of come into play. How to read a chart. Yes, it takes a while. I mean, I wouldn't do it down to say that it's a completely stupid, ridiculously easy task. It's not a ridiculously easy task. We know that, but there are aspects of it which fall into place relatively simply. But when it comes down to money management and risk and emotions and everything else, that's where the real challenge lies, isn't it?
Absolutely, it's the esoteric things of trading, where we are, as human beings, tend to be lax in control, and I think most of us are like that. Anybody
Yeah.
who's completely in control of themselves is a I won't well I was going to say freak, but really that's true.
Yeah.
It's absolutely true. If you're
Yeah.
in complete control of yourself, without, I guess, going and sitting on a mountain in Tibet for 5 years or
Yeah.
whatever, you're a very rare individual.
Yeah,
And
kind of rare individual I'd quite like to be when it comes down to trading at times. Or the pound is taking a little bit of a dive. That's interesting. Purely because actually, to talk myself up and down, I'm good at finding entries. Yeah, I get it wrong, every now and again, but finding a trade entry is probably my greatest strength. But you can couple that with I'm the world's worst profit taker. I tend to take profits a little earlier than I could do, because my trades do end up being many times very good trades. Not that it's a big problem. Obviously, I'm making money and I make consistent profits, but that's just a little hurdle that I'm working on getting right. And as I say, I wouldn't mind being a little bit more of a freak and a freak of nature, and be able to get that, because I think it's going to make a huge difference to my top line when I eventually nail it, which I will. It's one of those things that trading is a continuous lesson of life, and things fall into place. The more you work on these things, eventually you find a way through. Just like I have done with every aspect of trading, actually. And really, this is the last thing for me. Wow.
it is a matter of breaking down those barriers. There's no
Yeah.
two ways about that. And
Yeah.
there are a few ways to go about that. One of them is very painful and costs a lot of money. The other costs a bit of money and is not so painful. In fact, it's quite pleasurable.
Yeah.
And if you come out there, and that is, and this is not an advertisement in any way, shape, or form. It's a fact. I'm very grateful that I'm a member of this trading group,
Yeah.
and trading family that they call Actions to Wealth, because I think it is something that's improved my trading quite dramatically.
Yeah.
And the consistency. Whilst I've been a consistent trader for quite a few years now, it's given me a new aspect, and I'm finding a lot of different ways to trade the market than I had before. So
Yeah. Yeah.
uh, joining up with a group such as this is probably I think one of the better ways to learn all of those little lessons,
Yeah. I
because you
completely
rub
agree.
shoulders with traders who've done exactly that.
Yeah.
They might be an excellent manager,
Yeah.
but a very poor risk taker,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
or find a struggle to find entries. There's all
Yeah.
sorts of different connotations, and because you're rubbing shoulders with people who have maybe mastered that thing that you haven't,
Yeah.
it's a massive bonus.
Yeah. I completely agree.
Couldn't be
Completely
happier
agree.
that I found Paul many years ago in a completely different trading environment. Actually,
Yeah.
yeah, we've been knocking heads together for a long time. Good fun.
Yeah. Yeah. So we got
So
we yeah, go on, mate.
I didn't get the candle that I was
No,
looking
I was
for. I
going to
didn't get
say
the
we
double
got
cross.
we have got oh you yes you didn't get the candle, so yeah, no, I've just seen
Mm.
that. So the pound is easing to the downside significantly. Let me just see if there's any headlines on that. No, no, there's no specific reporting on that, but that is a fairly significant drop, isn't it?
Yeah, it's going. It's looking very
It's
good.
given the FTSE a little bit of a boost. I can tell you that the FTSE 100 has got market breadth currently sitting at. It's edging forward. It actually dipped down to around about 25, but we're back up to in the 40s now. So market breadth still bearish. 60% of stocks are in bearish territory, with 40% to the upside. But that little bit of pound easing to the downside has probably given the FTSE a little bit of a rocket. I'm not sure whether it was down to that, but the correlation looks fairly obvious. There's pound downside and FTSE upside, seemingly at similar times. We need the FTSE 100 to close pretty near entry. It's got to close near or just above entry for it to be something that isn't too concerning. But if it does close beneath 72.37 in the next 2 minutes, then I think we leave things as they are, but it's going to be a little bit concerning.
Yeah, look, I haven't got anything pressing at the moment, apart from I'm looking at both the Aussie and Aussie yen, still looking for that right entry, and I think the right entry for me is a long, certainly back to this level. But it has to set up, and it's just not setting up at this point in time, and that's fine. Have you still got my screen, mate?
Yep, got your screen.
Yep. Okay. Aussie yen's the same, and I do like the fact that we've broken through here. Big bullish bar has broken through. It's taken a long while to come back to this level, but once it has, it's rejected it straight away. Whilst ever price is above the daily pivot here, I think there's a strong chance it'll go long,
Mm,
and that's probably in this vicinity. You want to be taking profit here somewhere, and I think your target's pretty clear up there around about the 80-60 level for Aussie yen. Pound yen, I've still got that order short, of course, on the 4 hour. We'll need to change that. I don't think so. In fact, I like the fact that we've had a daily pivot, or almost a daily pivot test. I'm prepared to call that a daily pivot test. Do I think I can get a better price than what I'm currently looking at? I don't think so, because I don't want to trade into this level. I'm happy once we're through it. And I think that was the basis of the trade in the first place. Once we
yeah.
get through this level, I think there's downside to here,
Yeah.
and as long as we take profit here, I think we'll be fine. That's tempting, I've got to say, it is, but I'll stick to what I'm really thinking here, and that level's a strong level. You can see in recent past that we've had one break of it since where 2.5 weeks ago. So I'm respecting that level. We've got a double cross on that level as well. That's part of the trade as well. but I don't want to trade into that level. So unless this candle were to close below that level, I'm going to stick with my entry and leave it there. Intraday 30-minute charts not really interesting at the moment. The Aussie we've spoken about. I hope it hangs on and waits for me. Have we got the new candle? Yes, we have. A perfect doji almost. I love to trade them, but this one I like to trade in the opposite direction. So no, I'm not ready yet. Although this does look like a beautiful place to get in, it's still not my entry, so not for me. Cable looks to be coming to a place I like, and if it did, I don't think I'm willing to trade it short into that level, that's for sure. So I'd look for that level to hold. I'd look for price to get to here, hold back above the trade line or trend line, if you like, whatever you want to call it, and hit this confluence from the top side. So break here, find support, get back above, and retest this area here. If I saw that, that would get me long. I know it doesn't look bullish at the moment, but that can turn around very, very quickly. So I'm looking for a support level, and if we hit the support, then that's what I'll be looking for. If it continues to go short, of course, no drama. We won't be in any bad positions.
Yeah.
So although I can't find an entry at the moment, mates, I think there's probably good reason to hang around. I think there'll be a little bit of opportunity later on.
Yeah, I think so too. I think if we can see the market, well, from a I'm just going to nab the screen just for a little while here. From a FTSE 100 perspective, I think if we can start just to see this market hold this area convincingly, then I think we would start to then see some easing back to the upside. There are bumps in the road and problems on the way. We've got I think this high here is going to be a bit of a sticking point. So 72.66. I think we're probably likely to see the sellers try and take this area back again, and maybe we start to get some sort of channel. If the bulls can get back in control, I don't think that they've got too much in the way of hope early doors. I wonder whether maybe we start to look in for tomorrow or even you see this is starting to edge in. So the longer this goes on with this trend line here, the more likely that this particular area is going to be the area that we hold out. So I will look for I will look to see whether the which price gives us that confluence. We have fib levels as well, obviously, which take us somewhere between the two. So I think that the FTSE's got some bits and pieces to get over. You know, so it's got some hurdles to get over. But I'm really looking at this this weekly chart. Can this weekly make an attempt to get back up to near the highs? And when I look at the weekly chart, I think the significant number here is going to be along this horizontal level here. So that does suggest that somewhere between 70 to 84 ish. So I think a good 40 pips to the upside before we need to be too concerned with taking profit. This is the area that this weekly low here is the area it's struggling to get through. But I think this one's probably going to be more significant, the 72.84 ish. So see what happens at those points, mate. But other than that, I'm just going to hold on to what I've got. And I probably won't take profit at the 65 area, but I certainly will consider it heavily at the 84 area.
All right, mate. Happy days. Let's hope it does that, and let's hope we find some action where currently there doesn't appear to be too much.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. All right, have a great rest of the day, buddy, and I will see you in the morning. Actually, no, I'll see you in the later show, won't I, today?
Oh, yeah, that's right. That reminded me. I was going to go do something else. Yeah.
It's
all right. Catch you then.
An hour, is it? 2 hours? I think it'll be. We'll have a message.
I'm thinking it is in 2 hours.
2 hours. All right, dude. All right, I'll see you then, and enjoy the rest of your morning for now.
Right, mate. Cheers.
See
Bye,
you later,
everyone.
buddy. Bye.